Yes, people, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Well, it's the Devil's Advocate, the trio of death. Dave is making his long-awaited return to the channel. We haven't had Dave on since, what was it? Was it May? June? I can't remember. Maybe
it's a long time. In fairness, you have reached out to me beforehand, but, you know, I do like my break over the Christmas. I've made that clear to everybody, but I'm back now.
It's great to see you, mate. It's great to see you. Jonny as well, part of the furniture, as always. He's down. You know what? I'm going to put you guys at the top end of the pitch. Let me go and sit in the back four today. Jonny, how you doing, mate? You okay?
I'm good. Great to be back. The gruesome threesome. Yeah, that's us. We're back. And listen, it's a show I love doing. It's my favourite show of the week. It always was. And let's get this show back on the road and give people what they've been asking for.
100%, guys. Listen, look, we got a sharp 90 minutes today because Dave's got to get his pre-match ready. Jonny and I have to get to Tottenham. Jonny's in the fortuitous position where he can probably leave and at 5 o'clock and be there at 5:30. I have got to make the decision whether to leave at 2 o'clock and get there at 4 and be 4 hours early, or leave at 4 o'clock and maybe not make the actual starting time. That's the conundrum of which I chose when I moved to Surrey, and that's the cross I have to bear. Guys, let's get into it. Before we get into it, we've got lots to talk about. We've got the biggest game of the season, obviously, tonight against Liverpool in the first leg. I've got good thoughts going through my mind about this one. I know we've got a lot of injuries, but I just think that there's a good vibe happening. And maybe we can thank Manchester United for maybe exposing something. Now, if Ange Postecoglou is someone who was going to look at the SWOT analysis, the strengths and the weaknesses, the opportunities and the threats of the opposition, then maybe they could have learned something about how to attack that left wing forward area for Sonny or whoever it's going to be. If Trent Alexander-Arnold was going to put in another shambolic performance because his head is turned to Real Madrid, we'll find out in a few hours' time. But before that, guys, before we get these boys' thoughts on that and the transfer policy,
big up the tune for last night
as well. Yeah, they absolutely. I mean, Newcastle. I actually probably prefer to play Arsenal in the final, if I'm entirely honest. But we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's just quickly say hello, slam through the chat. On your bike, Scott. Big up, Scotty. Looking forward to seeing you tonight, mate. Do you know, I've noticed Scotty was my first ever pony of this channel. And I had no idea that the entire time he was sat 5 seats away from me at the stadium. And I love that about him. Absolute legend. Big up, Scotty. Good to see you, mate. Blaine Devon's in the house. As always, perfect viewing pleasure over my lunch. It's like you knew, Shawnee. I did know, Blaine. I did know. Because... I'm prescient like that. Telepathic, mate. Telepathic with you. I hope you're well, buddy. Thanks very much for your support ongoing. Luke, THFC, member of the show. Come on, you Spurs. Good to see you, Luke. Tarzan, waiting. Sorry, guys. Yeah, well, actually, you're waiting, but I actually set the timer for 12:10. So you're only waiting a little bit. And you were a little bit early on your waiting gag there. Samantha's in the house. What's people's thoughts on Ange? We're going to find that out in a second. Now we have French bread in the bag. Can we go and get a cheese room finally? Love that.
Crusty bread and cheese.
I'm looking forward to my baguette this evening that Johnny's promised me. Sean, you could have picked a nicer pic of Dave for the thumbnail, not one where he looks like he's struggling to hold in a fart.
I look like that permanently anyway, Blaine.
Yeah, I think we all need a new one. Mine's
yeah, we do.
Pressure of Tottenham getting to me.
100%. Phil P's in the house. Good to see you, Phil. Hugs and ciders this evening. Darren Johnson's in the house. Good to see you guys. The Terrible Trio's back. Daniel Borden's here as well, as is Georgie. Thanks for the support, George, on the membership stuff. Ian Mess in the house. Good to see you, Ian. Spurs GCTV is in the house. Member of the show. Wilson T, Cinema, Custy, Kent, Ove Vagnes. That's quite a name. Is that Dutch or is that Scandinavian? I'm not sure. It's lovely, though. Nice to see that Troy Parrot is flying at the moment and have done for a while. I think that must be Dutch then, are you? Good to see you, man. Inner Coma's in the house. What's happening? Skunk Works, Keith Edwards, Andrew Montgomery, Monty, member of the show as well. Big up to you, as is Ange Ball, Peter Kahagius from the WhatsApp group. Good to see you, mate. 11:21 p.m. in Melbourne. Hopefully we can give you a little nightcap. Any chance you debate Sava again? That show last week was Entertainment Central. Maybe. I've got no problem with Sava at all. Brian Gibson, Oscar... Paddy Hart, a member of the show. Good to see you. Dennis, man, Eddie. Boys and girls, let's get straight into it. By the way, all the Sydney and the Australian support. Guys, I was looking at my analytics before this show started. Do you know, there's almost as many people from Sydney, Adelaide, Perth, and Brisbane that watch this show over the last 60 days as there are from London, which is quite an incredible... obviously 5 cities versus London, but London's bigger in terms of number than all of them put together, I believe. So it's just a fascinating... geographical dispersion.
Draw revenge.
It is the draw of Ange. Yeah, exactly. What's going to happen if Ange goes? Tell you what, one thing's for certain, my numbers are going to absolutely crash.
We'll be relying on South Korea then.
Well, yeah, we'll get the American market. We'll get the American market. Boys, let's get straight into it. Dave, I wanted to start with you, mate, because I haven't had a chance to really hear your take on this channel. Just a quick one. We're not going to spend all day long talking about Ange and whether you're in or out, but I haven't heard your side. Obviously, everyone knows mine. Everyone knows Johnny's. Dave, what is your stance on Ange right now? Are you Ange in? Are you Ange out? How much confidence do you have? Does anything change before the end of the season? Let's go where you want with it, buddy.
Yeah, look, I'm still behind Ange Postecoglou for now because, look, in the summer, when we were making these signings, and even on my own channel, a lot of people, I was saying, look, good signings for the future, but they're not here for the here and now. Signing these young players, they're not going to be ready to come in and just hit the ground running and add to what we're trying to do week in, week out and give us the consistency we need. With young players, there's always going to be that spell of inconsistency. And I think, I could foresee the troubles that we were walking into this season. I was on Last Word on Spurs before the summer and I said it. And look, a lot of people deemed me negative. I just said, look, that's your opinion, but for me, I just see the problems on the horizon. Then you combine it with the horrible injury crisis that we've gone through this year. I don't blame everything on Ange Postecoglou. If anyone goes and watches the Newcastle United documentary on Amazon, they bring up a graph when they're planning for in the summer for Europe, and it's statistically proven that you incur a lot more injuries going into a season with European football off the back of a season with no European football. Right. It's statistically it happens. You incur a lot more injuries, and we just didn't plan for that crisis. We just didn't plan adequately or properly for that crisis. So I think Ange Postecoglou is in a bit of a period where it's like, what do you want him to do? People can say injuries shouldn't affect him. He's got to do better. Look at the drop-off of Man City this year because of their injuries compared to their usual standards. The drop-off Newcastle United had last year in terms of their season compared to where they are this season and the season they were before. Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, the same thing. When you incur injuries, you incur poor results. It comes hand in hand. And when you combine it with what we didn't do in the summer, I'm not surprised where we are. Also, I spoke about Harry Kane, a couple of years ago. I don't want to sell him because I don't trust the club to reinvest the money adequately. We sold the club's best goal scorer and we replaced him with relegation fodder. We bought James Maddison from Leicester City, Udogie from Burnley, Solanke from Bournemouth, Johnson from Forest. What do we expect Ange to do with these guys? And we wonder why we are where we are in the table right now when you look at the forwards we've got. Look, Ange Postecoglou ball is all about attacking. It's all about going and outscoring the opposition. So therefore, you need to give him the very best attackers to work. Not the very best, but you need to give him a lot better attackers than what we're working with right now. Even if you go back and look at some of the games where we've dropped points this year, we are so bang average going forward, and multiple players have had chances to kill teams off before they've even got a sniff of getting back into the game, and we don't have the ability to do it. Everyone looks at the back line right now. I don't think the back line is too much of the problem. For me, us going forward and being able to sustain attacks and retain the ball in the opposition half is piss poor, which leads to the problem at the back because we're getting it turned over so frequently. And for me, rather than do the same thing that we've done in previous years, sack Jose, sack Conte, sack Nuno, the new guy's going to come in and do better. It just hasn't happened. And I would like to see the club act a bit differently. And lastly, January transfer window is not the time to do it. When you're talking about a hectic month, you're trying to persuade players to come to your football club. Why would they sign on a dotted line when they don't know what manager they're going to be playing for? So it's not the right time to do it now if you want to conduct your business, which needs to be done regardless of the manager. Also, all of our cup games are this month. The season, we can still salvage the second half of this season. So for me, I think he gets to the end of this month. We've got Arsenal, Leicester and Everton in the league. If we can take points from there, you should hopefully propel yourself up a little bit in the table, which will alleviate the pressure. And if you can still keep yourself in the second leg of the Carabao Cup, and then also get out of the top 8 in the Europa League, then for me, I think Ange Postecoglou keeps his job. If we don't, I think he gets sacked in February. I think with David Ornstein's quote that come out, for me, timing is very important. And also, when you look at the end of the sentence, for now, I think that needs to be highlighted. That shows to me that I think the club maybe are thinking similar to me, where they need stability this January to get the players in. And then after that, they'll deal with the manager situation.
Love that, Dave. Johnny, I'm going to give you the right of reply because this is Devil's Advocate and we like to have different stances here. Just to throw in a couple of additional points, though, I would make the argument that, and I've made it a few times, that even if results go terribly, obviously if you get sucked into a relegation battle, then obviously there's hundreds of millions of pounds on the line, and then you might have to make a move. But I would also make the argument that, and this is one of the reasons why Daniel Levy, in the con column of Daniel Levy, him and his cohort have absolutely no track record, nothing to hang your hat on, that they have ever demonstrated any like pre-planning around who's next managerially before they sack the current. And I always make the argument that, if you're on a plane and the pilot's drunk, before you put a parachute on his back and kick him out the window, I would say that it's probably better to find out if there's another pilot on board who can land the ship. And I don't, or the plane. And I don't think that Daniel Levy is the sort of guy that does that. It's as good as he is at business. When it comes to football stuff, he's short of a penny or two. And I think that, I don't care if it's February or mid-January or March or whatever, as long as you've got things to fight for, no disrespect to Ryan Mason, but I have no faith in him. And that's what will happen, right? If you sack Ange, you're going to have Ryan Mason probably until the end of the season. And so for me, I think it's just, maybe the lesser of two evils or whatever. But I'm just with you, David. I don't think there's any. I'm not on board sacking him yet, even if we lose the cup tonight. As long as the players are still playing for him, then that for me is enough. And I haven't seen any evidence of the players giving up on Ange just yet. And
just to add to that quickly before Jonny comes in, is this whole narrative, go and get Thomas Frank, go and get the guy from Bournemouth, the guy, that guy. Look at the last three managers we hired. Levy ain't paying a penny for a manager. It's fanciful. He ain't going to Brentford and slapping down the money to get Frank out of there, or that guy at Bournemouth. You look at Jose. We took him in when he had no club. Same with Antonio Conte. Postecoglou's contract was up at Celtic. That's why we brought him in. We haven't paid money to get a manager out of the club to bring in here, and we ain't going to do that.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's why this is not a reason. I guess the fact that you don't have any faith in Daniel Levy having a plan is not really a very strong reason to keep Ange, but it is I think a relevant consideration. Jonny, over to you, mate. What's your stance on this one? Just to play devil's.
I don't blame Ange at all, really, for the situation initially, because my personal feeling is he should never have got the job. That's not to say he's a shit manager or a terrible manager. I just question whether he was the manager for this particular club and the task in hand. I'm a massive Spurs fan, as you all know, but I lived for a little while up in Glasgow and I needed a football fix, and I ended up being a Rangers fan because I got friendly with one of the players and ended up going. And so since I've been down here, I watch obviously every Spurs game, and I watch a few Rangers games, but I always watch the Old Firm games. And while Ange was at Celtic, he kept smashing us. Like, it was a regular occurrence. Yet all of that time, I never thought, and turned around to my son, who's also Spurs and Rangers, and said, "You know what, son? We need to get this Ange Postecoglou in, because he really is the business." I never thought about it. He wasn't even in my top 10. I had about 5 or 6, but I don't think he would have made my top 10. But that said, he bounced into this club like a breath of fresh air. And, after Conte, that was what we all needed. We were playing this exciting football. The press loved him. The fans loved him. They sung his name. And for those first 10 games, it was like poetry in motion. Then the Chelsea game happened. We got our injuries. And I still believed that, I was still a believer, because I said, wait till we get all our players back. You'll see what we're like. Ange Ball's a thing. But then Gary O'Neill exposed us all in that first game when he went on Sky Monday Night Soccer and laid down the blueprint on how to beat the club. We talk about injuries. So last year, when he got the players to come back, we lost 7 games between mid-January and the end of the season.
Jonny, can I throw a caveat at that to you? Could that be because the players are coming back less motivated than what they were before they went injured? When they went injured, we were on a 10-game run. It looked like we could achieve something. When they come back, the wheels have completely fallen off. And that's why I think maybe this time, if they do come back, because we're still in cup competitions and there's still something there to play for, they come back more motivated.
Well, I would have to disagree with the fact that we were battling Aston Villa for 4th place. And there was still the possibility of 5th place. if you remember, because of the
we finished fifth place.
Coefficient. Yeah, no, but there was still the thing of fifth, right? But fourth was the goal, right? The guaranteed goal. So those 7 games, and look at some of the losses. You know, we lost 3-0 to Fulham. I mean, you go back and look at them yourself, right? So, you know, I thought, you know what? This is still part of the journey. Got to give him in the summer. I understand what you were saying about, you know, the kids coming in. I actually had very, very high expectations of Archie Gray, and I thought Bergvall was going to be a player. Solanke probably wouldn't have been my first choice of a striker. Where's Ange, Gary O'Neill now behave? Right. Well, that isn't the point, is it? I said that he laid down the blueprint. Okay, read, listen. Okay, I said he laid the blueprint.
I got to bring up the comment. I got to bring up the comments as they fly through. Don't get sidetracked.
That's 100%, right? That's 100%. Well, I'm going to answer it back, right? He laid down the blueprint, which others have copied. Okay, he's gone. So, you know, we came into this season and it just hasn't happened. Now, we all know that the fixture, the injuries have affected us. There's another manager out there who's at the moment minus 11 players. His name's Thomas Frank at Brentford. I don't see any concession being made to him or any discussion of it. He just gets on with it. Now, they're 3 points ahead of us, and these aren't also.
They don't have the cup games to play, though, Johnny. They've played half the games we have.
No, I understand they're not playing. Well, they haven't played.
Love this. Europe. Back,
they haven't played the Europe games. Yeah, they haven't played the cup games. Yeah, no, I understand that, but you know, let's have some context. He's also battling it, but look, I am not for sacking Ange at this present moment. Whatever I think about his tactics, and yes, he has tweaked it slightly in these last 2 games.
He definitely has.
There was heart. And there was something about that performance against Newcastle. I'm here and I sit there and I admit it. And I said it when I come back. We like the fight. We like the passion. But, you know, we need now to find some sort of form. You can't sack him now. And as Dave rightly said, Spurs aren't going to play compensation for him and then compensation for Iraola or for Frank or for Silva or for McKenna, who I really, really like.
And if they did, Johnny, they did, then the same people that are moaning currently about woe is us, everything's terrible, the people that move the goalposts, and you know, it's always easy to pick the losing lottery numbers, like I always say. Those people would then be complaining about the lack of budgets that are available for January because we're the eighth club in the world, right? But then you just laid out 20 million quid in compensation and new guy coming in or whatever the numbers would be. And that money right now is precious and could be spent on players that we need to bring in for this guy and the next guy. As I've always said,
that's my point.
I was never an Ange guy. I was never an Ange or
an Ange.
I always said before Ange even came in, it's the next guy that I care about, but I'm not ready for the next guy yet. The next guy is not ready. He's still cooking in the oven. These players are the 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds that are doing well, that are going to benefit so much from this experience. They are the ingredients. They are the flour. They are the yeast. They are the whatever that is cooking in the oven. And then when the next guy comes in 6 months, 12 months, maybe not, I hope not 6 weeks, but those are the people that are going to make that guy's job easier.
Sure, this is exactly my point. I don't have any qualms about the future because I actually think that the plan is, I've always said, you should never back a manager 100% because a manager only lasts 18 months on average, well, even less if you're at this club. If you have a philosophy, which is something Spurs had many, many moons ago, right, of a way of playing football. Now, if we're going to decide that from this day forward or from the day that Conte left, that we were never going to go back to, you know, pragmatic, boring football, and we're going to embrace attacking football, then the players that we should be recruiting should, from that day forward, be with an eye on the future and playing the same way. So no matter if Ange left tomorrow and he walked out or he was sacked, the next guy that came in would be a guy who could utilize the same players, could utilize Gray. So that's why I think that the signings in this window should be with an idea and an eye on the future of this
100%.
club going forward, not just Ange signings. Which
But
I
Johnny,
think
that only works if you have philosophical continuity. And here's another bashing of Daniel
let me
Levy.
just finish that. Hang on. Let me just finish this. Sorry, just want to finish this last bit. I think at the beginning, though, they so wanted to appease Ange that they went against their own principles somewhat with some of the signings, like Brennan Johnson and others. There's a few others which he demanded. These are the players he must have. And I think...
did he demand Brennan Johnson, do we think?
Yeah,
is that right?
No, I know he demanded it. He demanded it. Look, let's be honest, right? We all know what Daniel Levy is about, spending money. Thomas Frank put in a bid for Brennan Johnson of £35 million, which was accepted by Nottingham Forest. And Daniel Levy, just a few weeks later, was forced to pay £47 million for exactly the same player. So because Brennan Johnson didn't want to go to Brentford. So
yeah, and Nottingham Forest got in trouble with FFP for delaying the transfer, right?
Correct. Yeah. But what I'm saying to you is that, yes, you know, when did Daniel Levy ever pay £12 million more for a player that was just a few weeks ago was agreed deal for 35? He did it because Ange went. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying there needs to be a balance. When you have a transfer budget, when the guy's in a position that he is now, and we don't know where he could be in the next 6 to 8 weeks, then we have to have one eye on the future. So every player that comes in has got to be a player that can play in an attacking style formation, that when we bring in the next manager, they will seamlessly be able to come in and utilise the squad. Not how we've done it over the last few years, where we have an attacking squad and we bring in a pragmatic manager. We bring pragmatic players in and we we bring in an attacking manager. There has to be continuity, exactly what you were saying there before.
Look, I sort of agree with the continuity argument, but when I take myself back to Jose, Conte, and Nuno off the back of each other, they were all sort of see football the same way, protect your back line, hit on the counter. But they still needed different players. They were still looking to make a lot of signings at Tottenham for their system, regardless.
We didn't do it, though, did we? We didn't do it, Dave. We never spent the money. This is Ange's the first time since, for years, since Steve Hitchen was given that money, the worst guy you could have ever given money to, who bought Ndombele, Sessegnon and Lo Celso. Now, had that money at that particular point, had they identified top talent and done the right deals, we would have been having a different conversation, because not one of those players gave us back a buck. Not only did they not give us anything much on the pitch, they didn't give us anything in a financial return or a sell-on. And that caused us massive problems. And to be honest with you, I think it scared Levy so much so that it's taken him years to get over it. And it's only now he's spending the money on
he's got the wrong. He's got the wrong risk profile. He doesn't like. This is why I always say, you know, for what it's worth, I know people that made their mind up about me. They think I'm a Levy sympathiser. I criticise him for everything. One of the things I think he's the wrong risk profile for an owner of a football club. He's nothing safe as houses, and then at the same time, you know, doesn't have an insurance policy on the off chance that we lost Vicario. You know, and then obviously Fraser Forster did a good job, and now we're scrambling and have to spend 10, 12 million on a player that maybe we earmarked for the summer. We'll see what happens. We'll see if he plays tonight. But you know, Daniel Levy is great at many things, terrible at other things. There's so much room for improvement in our transfer strategy, so much room for our improvement in our youth development. Hopefully we're making inroads on that one, but that's not down to him. That's down to Paratici. And, you know, back to the point, with regards to the continuity, I just genuinely do believe that, you know, that when you're signing players now, you know, Dave made the point at the start of this show about, you know, you don't want to kind of, rock the boat and upset the apple cart by sacking a manager in the window, because that, or even in that kind of the fear about that, is going to make people go, well, why would I come in not knowing what the future is? I'm not going to sign for a football club if Ryan Mason's in, so I don't know who I'm playing for. What I would say is that this continuity thing is important. And to Dave's point just a minute ago, when he said that we had some level of continuity, but it was the wrong version of football, 100%. We did, but we flip-flopped in between, from Pochettino to Mourinho. Then we went Nuno, Ryan Mason stints, Stellini stints, Conte stints. It was a flip-flopping, if not just continuity of philosophy, but also the shape of the team. Back three, wing backs to full backs in the back four. And we're still left with some of the legacy issues in that. And luckily or unluckily...
Could you not get that with attacking managers though, Sean, where yes, you know, Postecoglou plays his way, but he might want to go 2 strikers up top or what have you not, you know?
Well, and that is why...
We got two of them. We got 2 of them now.
I think that this is just my take, but I've always used the pendulum answer, right? Like the pendulum always swings. It's the same in life, it's just politics and anything, right? Populism comes in, people like Donald Trump, and then eventually it will land back somewhere in the middle or go too far to the left. It's just the way that the world works, right? People move from one side to the other because no one's ever happy about anything. But if Tottenham have gone too far in the philosophical sort of approach to a gung-ho level of football, then the next option, hopefully, will be someone that lands a little bit 10% dialed back, an Ange light, that can play with a little bit more fluidity, a little bit more dynamic approach to, you know, competitor analysis and playing the cards that are in front of you, but at the same time have bought players that fit and suit a system that is shaped around what we want. And ideally, if you want to play attractive football, then you do need to have players that suit a higher line than a Conte version. And that, therefore, requires that you have players with pace and stamina and bags of aerial ability and bags of positional awareness. And we are identifying players in the likes of Kinski, in the likes of, if Kuzanov's real, in the likes of Van De Ven, etc., that are fits for that. We're still going to have legacy issues with people like Pedro Porro because he wasn't bought as a right back, and I think he's done a really good job trying to fit in there. But there's always going to be a little bit of, this guy doesn't really fit the system. That's
not just a Tottenham
thing, that's an everything thing, isn't it? Sorry,
do you not think, though, Sean? I was just going to say, do you not think, you see, I hear so many people say this is a shit squad, the players are no good. I actually don't subscribe to that, Sean. Not at all. I really don't. I really don't. I just think right at the moment we got a lot of square pegs in round holes, you know, and we got players who are playing out of position. Dave's making a large deposit as we speak.
Dropping the kids off at the Tottenham Hotspur.
Dropping the kids off one at a time. I forgot my threw me there. I forgot where I was saying there. I forgot where I was.
I think you said, do you not think, Sean? And then we kind of got sidetracked, and I don't know what I was.
Yeah, no, I think we were talking. I think Darren came in, and it was.
We can come back to it. We've got lots to. We've got to talk about the Liverpool game. Breaking news, though, guys. I have just found out that Brennan Johnson has emerged for some pre-match training. I absolutely love it.
I saw him standing still at one stage. Like, I don't know if he was looking up at the clock or whatever. And I shouted out. Well, I can't shout out what I shouted out here, but I shouted it out, you know. And the 2 guys behind me, I thought they were going to tell me off. They were going, fucking right. He's just standing there.
Yeah.
Standing there.
Everyone, listen, I don't like the version of me that appears at Tottenham after a couple of those magnums. I can get really, really leery. And, you know, knowing that you got on your bike, Scott, five seats to my left, you've got Jim from Spurs right behind me. There's a little bit of overlapping from the version of me in my seat to what happens on the community side. And so, but yeah, I feel like I've infected a lot of people around me now that just spend half their time just like me, just focusing on Brennan Johnson, just trotting on the spot. And it's infuriating. In other news, guys, shout out to
I'm just going to ask Sean. It's a question I wanted to ask last week when we were on. When you go to football, guys, do you become, because I definitely do, and Sean just said he does, do you become a different person?
Yeah. It's mob mentality, mate. It's tribalism. It's mob mentality. Yeah. I am a potty.
I leave myself behind. Yeah.
100%, mate. 100%.
I've seen mild guys. I've seen mild guys who I know who don't say boo to a goose. Put them inside a football stadium, they turn into animals.
Weird. Dirty, mate. Animals. I can only imagine what it would be like if you went to war, you know, and it was literally, you know, war, like life and death, the sort of version of you that would come out. God knows. That's why, for what it's worth, little political statement here, I'm still a massive advocate for all those people that were killed in World War I, that were 15, 16 years old, that went to war, and they got there, and the threat of impending death, and they deserted, and they got shot and put in deserters' graves. I think most of those should be given some sort of clemency, some sort of write-off, because the terror of what we was going through for kids that signed up. Anyway,
That was a political broadcast on behalf of the.
I think it should. I think those people's memory should be cleansed of that stigma, because it would have been a horrendous thing for those people to go through. Anyway, guys, in other news, Emerson Royal, the latest in the long line of players to have left Tottenham Hotspur and to have won a trophy. And if people ask me all the time, I said this on Last Word on Spurs, I said that Ange is the guy before the guy. Tottenham is the club before the club. If you're looking for a sales pitch, you say, come to Tottenham, sign a 4-year deal, and you're guaranteed to win trophies. Maybe not at Tottenham, but at the club that you'll go onto straight away afterwards. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Even Emerson Royal has won a trophy before Harry Kane.
The GOAT. Yeah.
Unbelievable stuff. Guys, let's move forward to tonight's game. 500 people in the house, by the way. Amazing for a Wednesday lunchtime. I know a lot of you have been in Australia, bedtime for you. Some of you waking up in America, a lot of you here in the UK. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. Let's press pause for 2 seconds and make sure everyone gets over to the Irish Hotspur and smashes that subby button over there. I'll be putting the link in the description in just a moment. And also, Talking Tottenham 1882 for Jonny. He lost 6,000 Instagram followers because of archaic copyright rules. It's unfair, it's unnecessary. Make sure if you are an Instagram frequenter that you get over to Talking Tottenham 1882. And also, of course, Jonny's recreated his spaces. The brilliant thing about Twitter, where I found Jonny originally, I got in touch with him via Alan Clark's show, but Jonny H3232 on Twitter is where you can find him. He's just restarted his spaces. Brilliant things to listen to and dial in. So get over there and share the love, guys. We're putting the links in the description shortly. Dave, I'm going to come to you. I hope you washed your hands, my man. Let's start with tonight's Liverpool game. What are your thoughts, mate? It's the biggest game of our season. For me, I think that Tottenham are going to get a result tonight. Doesn't mean we're going to necessarily get through, but I've got really high hopes that we're going to turn up. The fans are going to be up for it, and it might just be a memorable evening. Regardless of the injury profile, I think that it's something that's fantastic. What's your thoughts, my man?
Look, despite the atmosphere around the club right now, I do think everyone should be excited. You know, potentially we're only 3 games away from lifting silverware for the first time since 2008. And that should be exciting for everybody, because regardless whether you have criticisms of the ownership or not, everybody wants to win trophies. So I do hope that everyone that does turn up to the game tonight fully gets behind the team, because we've seen how the 12th man can come into play against United and Man City. So I feel that atmosphere is very, very important. You see the way we went away to Galatasaray, the way that atmosphere affected us. Before we even went out there, as soon as the draw was made, everyone spoke about the atmosphere. Oh, that's going to be a tough away day. So I do hope that the Spurs Stadium can be like that tonight. And look, it's not going to be an easy task. We are up against the country's best team right now. They slapped us 6-3 up just before Christmas. There's going to have to be remarkable improvements. So let's wait and see what happens. But do you know what, Sean? I just have a sneaky feeling that Tottenham, it's just the Tottenham way. They'll probably give you hope coming out of this leg, and then we'll go up to Anfield and get slapped. Look, being brutally honest, I'm not expecting too much here from Tottenham Hotspur, because my whole lifetime, regardless of what state Liverpool have been in, I'm just used to being beaten up by Liverpool. They always find a way. They always get the result. Saying that, I went back and watched the 6-3. And I think it's important that Ange goes with a double pivot tonight, because if you look at the first few goals that unlocked us, the ball went out wide, but what they actually done is pulled it back to players sitting around our box, and we're playing these sort of angled balls, and they created a lot of hassle. And they noticed that it's something that Jurgen Klopp used to do against Tottenham an awful lot as well. And I think he needs to go with the double pivot to try and counter that, get out and get the likes of maybe a Bissouma and a Bentancur out there engaging with that ball in around the penalty area, because I felt like we gave Liverpool far too much respect in that aspect, and it came back to bite us. And not only that, I think Bentancur coming back into the midfield today, Sean, would hopefully give us a lot more of a foothold in the game. That 6-3 against Liverpool was very end-to-end at one stage. With Bentancur, he's got calmness, he's got composure on the ball. He's more of a tempo setter. He knows when to slow it down, quicken it up. And I think he could make a bit of a difference today. And hopefully we can come out the right side of the scoreline. And to be honest, I would go with Kinski in goals. I would put my money where my mouth is and let him make his debut. But look, it's not going to be an easy task, but I hold out hope. It's the magic of the cup. Anything can happen. That's why we love cup competitions.
100%, mate. Jonny, what's your stance? What's your heart, your gut, your head telling you, my man?
Well, it's been a long time since I've had a semi, and I'm really excited.
You're on the Viagra today, Jonny.
Yeah. I'm matching. Well, that's why I'm wearing my matching blue hat. I'm all blue today. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know. I'm excited about the game. the light show, my baguette, my Paris baguette and coffee, and then we'll sit down and hopefully see a game. Listen, I'm okay with losing a football game. What I'm not okay with is losing a football game where there's no fight, there's no passion. If they leave everything on that pitch, then I'm okay. Listen, the game against Liverpool, when it was 5-1, Liverpool switched off a bit and they conceded those 2 goals. Let's not kid ourselves. It could have been a lot worse. The amount of saves, I think, was the most shots Liverpool have had on goal. But they did look, they did look a little bit leggy. That was semi-funny. They did look leggy, I thought, Liverpool. Man United under Amorim, they have tried to change it up a bit. Listen, I really like Amorim, and I think a lot of it was down to the fact that they gave that Liverpool didn't play well. But I think you need to give a bit of credit to Amorim because
100%.
those players really battled for him in that game, like something meant it.
Bruno Fernandes was the best version of him I've seen in years. I hate Bruno Fernandes with a passion.
Yeah.
I think he's a horrible human being. But
yeah, he is.
No, so that's a stretch. Actually, he's a horrible.
No, he's not.
Footballer,
He's just a horrible on the football pitch. I'm sure he's.
I don't know what he's like as a person, but as a footballer, he's like he's the playing equivalent of Mikel Arteta, and not a fan of it. You know?
Yeah, but look, listen. Liverpool are a fantastic team managed by a fantastic manager and one who, you know, I dreamt Spurs were going to have. But listen, I'm of the thought that the opposite to a lot of people who think that Liverpool will put a weakened team out for tonight. And I think they were going to go strong tonight and try and make put this tie to bed so that when they come round to Anfield, they can put in a weakened team at home because they'll have their Champions League games coming up. And that will be.
Who have they got in the cup on
Accrington Stanley? I just checked. They're not going to go weakened side tonight. They'll do that against Accrington.
Yeah. So I don't believe they're going to rest people, but I would be putting in Conor Bradley tonight. I really rate him really highly. And the way Trent played the other day, I think he's likely to come in. Look, I want us to put up a performance that we can be proud of. That's all I'm asking for. You know, when you look at the stats, no one expected the performance and the result that we got against Newcastle. We lost 2-1. It was very narrow. I think Ange over-egged it. We should have won in the game. I think a draw.
Actually, let me ask you about that, Johnny. Just quickly on that particular take, right? A lot of people criticising Ange for his overly emotional anger outburst, saying, "Oh, you can't do that." All the journalists saying, not unbecoming or whatever. I'm like, actually, Mikel Arteta is a master of throwing every referee under the bus.
It was the football.
Trying to get. Yeah, but actually, to be entirely honest, I think that the Twitter reaction to him, he wasn't blaming the football last night. He was asked, a lot of managers, a lot of people were saying that the ball is different. What's your take on it? And he went, yeah, the ball is different and you have to adapt. So I don't think that was an excuse. I think he was just answering a question in his defense, which I don't usually make. But my point about him, whenever there's a chance, he's like, yeah, it's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace, guys. It's a disgrace. And he gets the rub the next time because referees feel like, I would imagine, the psychological impact, the human nature here. Let's get into the psyche of a referee who's going to feel the pressure. There is going to be some sort of leverage that you can utilize from that. If you know you're going to get abuse from the manager and that he never gets in trouble for it, then you might give him one if he to even things out. Just like Liverpool got so much last year after the dodgy. What happened against Tottenham?
No,
he did so much forevermore. And just quickly, my point is that Ange, for the first time, I know he says he's never going to call out a referee, and then
that's
he does.
What I was going to say, yeah, and he did.
But I'm okay with him doing it. We need to figure out the dark arts. Newcastle are masters of the dark arts, masters of it. Tottenham need to figure out how to get some little percentage points going in our direction. And if one of those tactics has to be that Ange loses his mind about refereeing decisions, then I'm all for it if it means that a 50-50 goes our way tonight for once, because we don't get any of the rub ever.
I've no problem.
Go on. I'm just going to say he did say he stated many times that he has no interest, nor does he want our players doing the dark arts. He doesn't want our players diving all over the place. He doesn't want our players doing that. If we were
it's naive, isn't it? It's naive, right?
No, but if we were 2-1 up in the 88th minute against Liverpool tonight,
pushing for a
we
third,
will be wanting Bergvall to be putting down that ball and playing that ball straight away, right? Putting the ball forward. He won't, but he'll be wanting us to attack. And if that ball starts going backwards and we're in game management, I actually thought, in all honesty, Newcastle's performance against us was fantastic. They let us have the ball. They knew exactly what they were doing, right? Let them come on to us and we will attack you and we will counter-attack. And so tonight's team, just quickly, right? I sort of agree with Dave with Kinski, but I'm not sure whether, it's a dilemma for me. Do you go with the experience of the tree whose branches seem to have fallen off? Or do you go? Or no, I wouldn't either.
Deep end it. They're throwing him in the deep end. He's a confident guy. Let's see what he's about.
Yeah, it's a big.
We accelerated it for a reason.
Yeah, but he hasn't. He's had 2 training sessions with the kids, so I don't know. But he's confident. He's very intelligent. So maybe throw him in. The only thing is, fans, right? If he makes a mistake, come on,
guys, lay off.
Don't throw him off. Don't throw him under the bus. So what are we gonna look at?
Tonight? Some people will. Any reason to bash our club. Let it rot, already. Let it rot. Yeah.
They're bashing him already. They're already calling him the cheap option, just to appease the fans. The truth of the matter is other clubs in Europe, around Europe, were all looking at him, and Spurs felt that if it went to the summer, they might miss out. So that's why they went early on this, earlier than they had intended, 100%. But
right.
I think personally that Bergvall should try and get minutes tonight, but I'm not sure if he will. I mean, it should probably be Bissouma, Bentancur, and Kulu. But I'm not sure what he's going to do. I
want to see Bergvall get in there. To be honest,
I want to as well. Yeah. But I think
you can't not reward that shift against Newcastle by putting him back on the bench.
But you'd think he should go, and I think if I did my team, I would be putting Bergvall in the middle with Bentancur and Bissouma, and I would push Kulu out to the right hand side, drop Johnson, and let Kulu drop in from that side, maybe drop into the middle more. I definitely. I'm not sure if I'd start Sonny. I'm sorry. I'm not sure if I would.
He was rested against Newcastle, wouldn't he? So be your freshest winger.
Yeah. The trouble is, Dave.
Who's saying?
Sonny. The trouble is when he did come on, Dave. He came on, and every time he got the ball, he got into a position and he just checked back. And
yeah, but you know what, Johnny? Right? If you're looking for a weak link in the Liverpool team, now I said this last time. I said that. That you probably go down
Robinson.
Not Robertson. Robertson.
Yeah.
You go down their left because Robertson or Tsimikas is probably the area you don't want to take on Virgil van Dijk in a one-on-one, right? You want to stick it out wide into the corners and see what you can get. And Robertson's not the player he was, but Robertson put in a shift. What I would say is if Trent's going to start, I don't know if he will, but if he does, then that's the area to go after in the counter, right? In the transition. And if you look at our options, do you put Timo Werner out there or do you put Sonny out there? The only option that you've got, you put Timo out there, would you?
I'll tell you what, I only start with Timo. Now, I'm not a fan of Timo. Honestly, he needs to go as soon as possible. The only reason I would put him in there, the only reason is because that pace gives Liverpool something to think about when they're pressing forward down that left-hand side. That's the only.
He doesn't use the pace, mate. He sits on the shoulder and he's offside all the fucking time.
To be honest,
the wall.
To be honest, if I'm Arne Slot, I say leave him there. It doesn't matter. He can have all the pace in the world. What's he going to do with the football? It really doesn't matter. Just leave him free. And I think a lot of managers are okay with that. That's why Timo Werner gets a lot of the ball down that side when he plays. Because a lot of managers are more worried about clogging up the middle, like Kulusevski and stuff like that, rather than Timo Werner, because nobody backs Timo Werner to put in a good cross, find the assist, or even score. You know, and we've seen that time and time again this season. Look, I get the Werner shout. The only good thing he's good for is running the legs off a fullback. But, you know, for all we know, we could get our chances in the first half of the game. And if they fall to him, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. And then after the game, everyone goes, why didn't he start Sonny? He's clueless. He's this, he's that. So for me, I think you got to, it's a cup semi-final. You got to put your best players on the pitch. Son has to start tonight. He was rested against Newcastle. Look, granted, he's been piss poor this year. I completely get it. But if anybody's going to find that goal to give us something to hang on to at Anfield, it is more than likely going to come from him.
Do you think that there's going to be, I got a feeling tonight, there's going to be a surprise on the team sheet. I don't ask me why, but I feel like there could be. He needs to change something because, you know, we played Liverpool before. Is he going to change it up? Is he going to go more defensive, Ange? Is he going to look? No, I just wonder whether he's going to change something up because, you know, only someone who's got their head buried in the sand would think that 6-3 and it was close and had we taken our chances, like some people I've seen have said. The truth of the matter was that they were 5-1 up and coasting and switched off. I think, look, I think we would hopefully have learned something from that game. I think the Newcastle game has given us confidence or given the players some confidence. And it's how Liverpool react. Are Liverpool leggy and unable to react to that game? Or will they motivate? Will that game against Man United motivate the players to prove that it was just a blip? Those are the questions we won't know until later.
Let me ask you boys this. Two-part question, just to round off the team squad, the starting 11. Let me just sort of throw out some names and I'll throw out the names and then you let me know whether you think they're going to play. So quick answers, quick fire answers. Going to play as a sub, how many minutes? Mikey Moore.
Sub.
And get some minutes?
I'm not quite sure on that one.
Okay. Lucas Bergwijn.
Sub.
Starts.
Sub for Dave. Okay.
Can I say quickly why I think Bissouma will start? I think, first and foremost, you've got to try and get a foothold in the game. Bergwijn is absolutely brilliant in possession, but you've got to earn the right to play against the best team in the country. And don't get me wrong, Bissouma in possession, I think pisses everybody off. You know, he doesn't have the passing ability of other players. However, he does make a nuisance of himself. He does get stuck in. And I think he will start on that basis with Bergwijn coming off the bench later on in the game. You've got to remember, it's an 18-year-old kid. It's a huge game to fuck him in the middle of midfield and ask him to conjure up something against Liverpool.
Do you not think?
I don't disagree, but I thought it was a huge game against Newcastle.
I love it.
He got elbowed in the face in the first 5 minutes, right? And got up and still put in an absolute shift. Yeah,
but it was him that gave away the ball for that goal. He took the wrong option. He had Kulu ahead of him. He should have played him, and he tried to play. Look, don't get me wrong. Pape Matar Sarr played him into trouble, but you know, if that happens in a cup semi-final tonight, we're done. We're toast.
100%. This is what I always say, right? The variance in cups. I did that show the other night about why Tottenham don't win trophies anymore, and variance is a big factor, right? Tottenham always get drawn more than any other team in the English system against Premier League clubs in the cups. That's a fact. And the variance of a cup is one bad decision from a referee, one mistake, one horrendously poorly timed injury setup, which is what Tottenham are currently facing. You don't get that over the course of a season naturally, generally. But in a cup, it can be pivotal and disastrous. One bit of luck either way. And so for me, Dave, I disagree that you should chastise Bergwijn for that, for giving the ball away. Maybe he chose the wrong option. But for me, the referee should have made the better decision with regards the situation. And I don't think you can blame him for suddenly the rules being different and the referee not.
I'm not blaming him. Look, don't get me wrong. You know, if you look at Joe Linton, his hand started behind his back. He moved it out beside him. He made his body bigger, right? It's a handball all day long.
Right.
But the inexperience showed in that situation. Why are you trying to pop it there? If you go back and look at it, Kulu's standing right there asking for the ball. It's a simple pass to make.
Yeah, but if he gets past, then Brennan Johnson, absolutely, Brennan Johnson's free and got acres of space. So again, we can disagree on this one, but I personally think it was purely unfortunate, and I think that Bergwijn was actually given the hospital pass that he had to deal with. I thought it was a brilliant bit of vision to try and slice it through to Johnson. It was just unfortunate that it hit the bloke's hand and the referee didn't do his job.
I think if that's Bentancur, but I think if that's Bentancur, he knows straight away in that split second he's registered. There's a potential risk that Joe Linton does intercept that. I've got to play Kulu. You know, Kulu's standing there facing up, looking for it. And I think if you have a more experienced player there, he probably doesn't take that risk. Like, that was a huge risk to take from Bergvall there. I get the potential of the breakaway, but I just think if you've got someone more experienced, they compute that all within a split second and they play Kulu and look for the return.
I think he's outstanding. I think Bergvall is outstanding. I've said it over and over again. His peripheral vision,
he's a good player.
The way he receives the ball, he's already worked out where that ball's going before it's arrived. He doesn't take 4 or 5 touches. He moves the ball on, and you know the drive for that first goal was from him. I just think that we are a stronger team if we play Bergvall with Bissouma and Bentancur, but 3 players that can intercept the ball, with Kulu outright being able to drop inside.
Okay, interesting. That's the next name I was going to throw out. Brennan Johnson.
Yeah. So I would 100%. I would start him, but I think 100%. Unfortunately,
he won't.
We won't be.
The reason why I would start Bergvall is I look at players who want the ball. I think it's such an absolutely tough games when you've just been elbowed and you're a boy against massive men. Joe Linton's an absolute he's a cruiserweight boxer. A brilliant player, dirty little git as well. And I think that he needs some of the trust. I saw someone on Twitter saying he needs the Matty Cash treatment, and I don't disagree. But
hang on, there's a square peg. If ever a square peg went in a round hole, it's Joel Linton. Signed £35 million as a striker and ends up being a top midfielder.
Unbelievable. He's a great player. I know Newcastle have got a fantastic team. Anyway, we've done something about Newcastle. Terry O'Shea, I'm not talking about lay off with the injuries thing. Listen, sorry, mate. I think it's a viable. I know other people want to go, no. Everyone has injuries. Nobody has this frequency of injuries to the same positions at the same time and the length of time. It's an uncommon scenario. It's people that want to bucket it as everyone goes through injuries. I disagree. I think it's gaslighting a very relevant part of the conversation. But for what it's worth, the only reason I was talking about it just then was to say that the variance in cups, injuries happening at the same time in a key game, mean that your season's not over if it happens in the league, but it is over if it's an impactful factor in a cup game. And so my point was just that. But with Bergvall, I'm looking for people who want the ball in under pressure scenarios. And for him to be 18 years old, get up off the floor after being jawed, and then still want the ball for 90 minutes, and for the crowd to boo the substitution. I know that I think we knew after the fact that he was still suffering from the effects of a virus, right? So even more plaudits go to that kid. But for me, I'm looking for people and go, does Bissouma really want the ball in tight situations? I don't think he does. I think Bissouma can go missing in big games when the pressure's on. And I haven't seen that element from Bergvall. So whilst I hear the logic that you guys are putting out, and I lean with Jonny on this one and think that he should start. He probably won't, but I think he should. Let's move forward towards...
Can I just say, because I don't want people to think that I don't rate Bergvall. I think we've got a real player on our hands in future the more he develops. I think he's absolutely quality. In possession, I've seen more than enough to think that he's a very good player for Tottenham Hotspur. However, it's the other side of the game where I think Bissouma gives you a bit more, and that's why I would prefer to play him today, because I do believe you have to get a foothold in the game first before you even think about starting possession. That's the only reason why I would.
Experience, you mean, Dave? Experience, you mean? 10 years older? You're talking about the experience?
No, not experience. I'm talking about just getting in and around, disrupting play, with no Pape Matar Sarr tonight. That's what he does really well. Yeah. You need that in the injury room. I think if you play Bentancur and Bergvall, I think you've got two very similar type players, and I'm not sure who's going to get around and disrupt that play. And that's why I would go with Bissouma first and look to bring Bergvall on later on. But I don't hate Bergvall by any stretch of the imagination.
Would you not play? You see, this is my point
here.
Johnny,
I want to be able to slice this up later on. Right, let me just because I know where you're going to go with this, right? So you're going to say Decky should play out on the right, and I guess my next candidate to throw out there is Brennan Johnson. Right, you know how I feel about him. I think he's a show. He's not even a show pony. He's a Shetland pony. He trots around and he doesn't do anywhere near enough off the ball. He's not good enough on the ball. Yes, he's very good at taking advantage of the beneficiary of the system, but he doesn't work anywhere near hard enough. And look, if you want someone that's going to access maybe a vulnerability under Tsimikas or Robertson, then maybe he's a better option. but because I don't think Decky's a take-on specialist down the right. But let's go through that. If we're saying that Bergwijn doesn't have space, Jonny, I'll let you start on this one. You're saying he should have space because for you, Brennan Johnson is what, bench or start?
No, he's benched. Listen, I when we signed him, right, I called him Brendan Johnson, and the reason being is because I need my players who are up for battle, right? I want my players. You know, if I'm going to war, I'm not taking Brennan Johnson. Okay, you know, I'm taking Romero, I'm taking Richalison, I'm taking Bentancur, I'm taking Porro, right? There are certain players and. Shetland Tony, yeah, very good. Yeah, no, for me, look, you cannot knock the goals he scored, but I need my players to play for 90 minutes or be available. I don't want to see them going MIA for 40, 50 minutes of a game. I don't want to see him sucking it up or staring at the scoreboard, stood still during a game. I don't want to see that. So for me, I'd have to put him on the bench for tonight.
And you want Decky to start out on the right, do you?
I want Decky to start out on the right because I believe that he can drift inside and add some power to that midfield. I don't think it should be Bissouma or Bergwijn. I think it should be both, along with the guile of Bentancur, along with Kulu. I think that is where our strength's going to lie. And I think that's where we can bring it on. And then later on, in my opinion, you bring on Brennan Johnson and Sonny later on in the game. That's just me. Dave?
I actually agree with Jonny, with what Jonny's saying. You know, Kulu, I think, would give Robertson more of a tough game. I think Johnson would give Johnson gives every fullback an easy game because as soon as he gets the ball, he goes backwards with it. They don't have to do anything. All they have to do is just pressure on him and force him backwards. I describe Johnson as a dressage horse. Do you know the horses that trot around and stuff like that, you know, showing off? But that's what he is. And Kulu's more of a racehorse, you know, just from A to B as quick as possible. That's exactly what Brennan Johnson is. You're spot on there. You know, but look, for me, I just have a feeling that Kulu will be in that sort of number 10 role, and I think Johnson will be out on the right-hand side. That's what I think Postecoglou will do. But I would do what Jonny was saying, you know, if we could, but I just don't think he will.
Just quickly, Jonny, sidetrack, mate. Is your Instagram link Let's Talk Tottenham 1882? Because Instagram's telling me the page isn't available. It might have been removed.
No, that's the one that was removed.
Oh, what's your current one?
Talking Tottenham.
Oh, sorry. Talking Tottenham 1882.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
So this is where you got to go, guys. Talking Tottenham 1882. I'm up to a massive 71 followers now from 6,000. So
give it after tonight, it'll be up to like 2K anyway.
Oh, no, it's a long.
There you go. There's the link, guys. There's the link. Get over to the right one. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much. It's a long haul, Dave. It's a long haul. But that last video.
So Brennan Johnson, you're saying bench, and Dave, you're saying bench as well.
Well, I'm saying that I would prefer him on the bench, but I think Postecoglou is going to play him.
Okay. Sonny?
He starts.
Yeah, for me, bench, bring him on.
How can you bench him? He's our club captain. He's got to play. It's a semi-final.
Listen, look, it's not going to happen, right? The reality is Sonny's going to start, right? Yeah.
Is there someone you can't unfollow? You can't unfollow. That's not part of the game. You got to follow. Follow more. Follow twice. Go and get
I'll follow you later. Back it in.
Okay. How about this one? Let's move to the back. Here. Jed Spence, start, bench, and if so, where do you play him?
100% start.
On what side?
Well, I think Radu will be back. He really wasn't well. He went off to the toilet more times than Dave just now. So I reckon that he will start. Radu will start with Archie Gray, and I think Spence will start at left back with Porro at right.
Yeah.
You agree, Dave?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, you know, you've got to try and take Mo Salah out of the game. And I know it sounds ridiculous because Mo Salah ended up coming out with a couple of goals and assists against us. But genuinely, I think Spence gave him the toughest game of the season. For large parts of that game, He sort of did nullify Salah's threat. So I think if anybody, it's got to be him out at left back. Porro's got to step up at right back. He had huge problems with Diaz and Gakpo on that side. He's got to step up. Good thing is, going forward, he's starting to affect the games, putting them delicious crosses that we've been missing. And then at centre back, Radu Dragusin and Archie Gray. But Radu has to do so much better than he did against Liverpool. You go back and look at that game. He left poor Archie Gray exposed time and time and time again. He keeps jumping out of position. He keeps leaving massive gaping holes in between them. At one stage, he went for a header he was never going to win, and they went and scored straight off the back of it. For me, he's got to be 10 times better than what he was against them in that 6-3. He was atrocious.
Yeah. Just let's carry on with the Radu analysis here. Is he the player that everyone... No. I remember going live this time, I think it was like the 13th of Jan or something. I remember getting up at bright and early, like 7 o'clock in the morning, and going live. And I opened my eyes and I saw that we'd signed him 3 minutes ago. I was like, quick, Bugsy, quick. We got to go live. We got to be first. And there was 2,500 people in the stream. And I was like, we're back. Tottenham are massive everywhere they go. Thinking we'd sign the next whoever. We gazumped Bayern Munich. I've got to be entirely honest. I am a little bit underwhelmed, should we say. I'm going to come to the super chats in a minute there. I'm a little bit underwhelmed with Radu so far. Yeah. I don't necessarily think he suits the system. Listen, it's also, by proxy, he's a victim of having to, force to play a system, more minutes than we probably thought. I just don't know necessarily if he's the right guy for horses for courses. I'm not entirely convinced yet by Radu Dragusin. He isn't as strong in the air as you would hope he would be. He's not bad in the air, but it's probably his best asset. And his timing of his tackle can be good, but he also has, for me, a propensity to go to sort of to not help out his partner, as you were saying, Dave. And also, I think that he's a little bit sloppy with his concentration at times. And those things are not really acceptable when... I know he's only 21. I get it. But look, come of the hour, come of the man, right? And you have to step up. 700 people in the house, guys. Step up and smash that like button as well. Really, really cool numbers for Wednesday lunchtime.
Do you know when it comes to Radu Dragusin? Look, I think everyone was excited to get more centre-backs in the door and see what he could offer. And look, for Romania, it looked great. Genoa looked great, but they play defensive systems. He's more suited to that style of play. At Genoa, he played a back three, which he's used to extra protection, which is why he probably feels like he can jump out. But in a back four, he's got to realise as soon as you jump out, you're exposing that space. But his all-round game, I don't think is anywhere good enough. Look at the guy. He's 6'8". He could be a basketball player. He looks like an Adonis. And I find him quite weak. Quite weak. He's not good enough in the air, in my opinion. I think in possession, I see similar traits to Eric Dyer, where he gets nervy, erratic. Sometimes it goes to a Tottenham player. Sometimes it goes to Jonny up in row Z, or sometimes it goes to the opposition goalkeeper.
Johnny's not in row Z.
Wherever Jonny wants to be. Any Jonny. I didn't say this Jonny. It could be any Jonny. I presume there's more than one at the Tottenham ground. And to be quite frank, I just think his all-round game is lacking a lot of the components for what we need in this system, especially playing out from the back. He got himself sent off against Karabakh, for God's sake, trying to play out from the back. Karabakh. No one gets sent off against them. No, even I wouldn't. It's nowhere near good enough from Radu Dragusin. Look, of course, I'm not going to write him off. He's 21, 22 years of age, adapting to a new country, new league. There's, of course, still time for him to improve. But I went early on the Brennan Johnson situation, and I stand by what I say. A lot of his all-game components to the game lack for him to ever really be effective in the starting 11 for Tottenham Hotspur. And I feel the same is with Radu Dragusin. And combined with his agent asking Postecoglou to change to a back three to get him in there, and constantly putting pressure on the club for him to play. And then when he does play, that's the shit he serves up. I'm sorry. I don't ever think he's got anyone in his camp to say, look, you need to tighten up your game here. I think, for me, I'll give him another year. If it ain't working out, sell him on. Okay.
Brutal. Johnny, what says you, my man? What says you?
Well, I'm going to double up on a couple of the things. Coming from, Genoa playing on the right side of a back three, not playing high-line football, not blessed with quick pace. We sign a player that plays in that system and expect him to have the pace to play in a high-line system and get back and cover. I don't think the system suits him at all.
But is it not up to him to adjust to the system, though?
No. I'm not saying it doesn't, right? But he's been signed to play. You've seen him play one way, and you're signing him to play. He's not blessed with great pace, right? I think he would thrive in a traditional system. And what I mean by a traditional system, personally, I've said this right from the start. I think if Ange switched to a back three, including Dragusin, Micky Van De Ven and Romero, this club, this team would look totally, totally different. I think we'd have more balance between
Pedro Porro could move forward and not have to worry so much. Yeah.
You'd only need to invert one. I think there's so many advantages of playing that, but it's not happened and it's not going to happen. But
it can't happen tonight, can it? It can't happen anytime soon.
Tonight. Look, he's 22 years of age. We all know that you don't come into your own until you're about 25, 26. You start to mature. I remember when John Stones went to Manchester City for that massive fee then at the time, and he went there and he looked like a bloody cart horse, right? He could not get it right. He looked absolutely abysmal. Look at the player he is now. So whilst he isn't delivering now, no one can question that. He's the best of our three centre-backs in the air. Micky Van De Ven, for being 6'4", he can't bloody jump. He ain't great in the air. And Romero,
is he more dominant than them though? I don't think he is, Johnny.
He is in the air. I think he is in the air. Listen, it doesn't help playing alongside an 18-year-old midfielder.
He's played centre back better than Radu Dragusin. Spence played centre back better the other day.
No, listen. I'm not going to stand up for him and say to him he's been playing well because he hasn't. Right. I'm just saying that I think the abuse he's getting. I mean, he hasn't been great. And like you said, you watched him in the Euros for Romania, and he was absolutely fantastic. Where is that player? There is a player in there. I'm sorry, there is a player there. And I just
he's a lot more protected with Romania, though, right? They play 11 men behind the ball. There's a lot more protection from him. He's not going to get that. Even if we pivot to the next manager, like we were talking earlier, bringing in another attacking manager, he's not going to get that cover. So he's going to have to learn to play with being a bit more exposed than what he's currently used to.
No one is exposed as our left back, our right back, and our
I get that.
Why do you think that so many of our players have been injured with hamstrings, all in recovery runs? Even Odeberg's been there 5 minutes, never had a history of it, and doing a recovery run, coming down doing, he's gone. Look, I'm not gonna stand up for him in the short term. But I think it's too early to call that he needs to be outed, like some people are saying.
But you called Brennan Johnson early, though, Johnny.
Pardon?
You called Brennan Johnson early, though.
I did.
Yeah, but
you're absolutely right,
back, ladies and gentlemen.
And I still haven't changed. I haven't.
I know that, but I'm just wondering then why you're so hesitant to call Radu Dragusin early then. That's all.
Because I see elements of positivity. There are some positive elements. What I saw with Brennan Johnson was, I'm looking at Brian Mbeumo. I'm looking at Alex Gordon, who was at the time, at Everton. Those are the type of tenacious players who offer more than the show pony. I would never have signed him. I saw weakness. I saw a guy who looked like he'd be out with his mummy going shopping on a Sunday, which no offense to anyone who goes shopping with their mummy on the weekend, right? But
I go out on a Tuesday afternoon.
Listen, nothing wrong with people going out shopping with their mummy, but he looks like a really nice guy. He's a really lovely guy, right? But I need an animal. I need someone with a bit of fight and tenacity, and I don't really see it in Brennan Johnson. I'm just saying, look, we might be having this conversation, guys, in the next 4 months, or the start of next season, and I'll be saying, you know what, a new manager's come in, he's playing a more traditional system, and he's not fulfilling it. I'll turn around to you and say, you know what, he's not good enough. Let's go. I just think...
Well, that could be the same thing with Brennan Johnson, though, right? But the next manager might come in and have a little bit of a kind of more pragmatic approach, not necessarily reverting to kind of Conte ball stuff, but just might be able to play a little bit more balanced, draw players on, and then Brennan Johnson might be able to thrive as the player he was at Forest. But we don't know. But all we can do is really judge on the fit for purpose for right now. And I think it's fair to say for me that Brennan Johnson is incredibly lazy at 90% of his game, incredibly good at taking advantage of the beneficial system in which Ange portrays. But we need more from the front line. And Radu Dragusin right now could be a better fit for a different team, a different system.
Not 10 goals. You cannot knock Brennan Johnson.
You cannot. And, speaking of which, I do want to move on to Dominic Solanke, because I still see everywhere I go this idea that he was a waste of money, he's not good enough. And the numbers, like 26 games this season in all comps, I think it's 19 GA or something like that, right? Quite like, I mean, I don't know what we're doing here if we're thinking that he's not pulling he's on track for his best ever season. And people saying he's only had one good season under Bournemouth last year, but he's on track to beat that this year quite substantially, even though people say he's underperforming and the system doesn't necessarily preclude for him to be a fit. Before we come on to your takes, boys, on Dominic Solanke, I think that rounds off the 11 that we're probably going to see tonight. Before we do that, Blaine, I'm so sorry, my man. I know you put this in a long time ago. I was waiting until we got through to the transfer stuff, but now we're just going to squeeze it in now because we're talking about players that maybe are good players but don't fit the system. Blaine's asking, thoughts on the rumours we are now looking again at Skriniar. For me, no thanks. He wouldn't cope with an Ange system being expected to run 100 miles an hour. It's an interesting take. Listen, I personally think that there's value in him just being able to come in and offer some leadership, offer some guile. He's a monster in the air. And like I say, I've seen enough tweaks to the Ange system. I don't think we play this ludicrous high line as much right now as we were playing a month ago. I think that by hook or by crook, we are adapting, whether it's on the players that are just taking the ball by the horns or whether it's by design, I'm not sure. But I'm seeing more adaptation of the system in the last couple of weeks than I have done in the previous 18 months. And like I say, he's expensive, but he's a quality player. Would I like someone else? Possibly, probably. If you throw out 50 names, I'm sure there'll be people in there that will be above him in the order for me. But let's get your takes on this on Skriniar, boys. Would you like to see him come in if that's the option for a loan deal with an option?
I'm the same with Blaine. Taking him under the old regime, I would have grabbed him with both hands. He didn't want to come, understandably, maybe. And I think this system will expose him just like everybody else. I'd rather have Tomori, personally. I think Tomori has got more pace. He's got more guile. He's younger. And that's the one I would be going for 100%. I wanted him before he went to AC Milan. So for me, Tomori.
Yeah. I'll be a fan of Vicario Tomori. Dave?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Look, I think there's huge value of bringing someone in of his experience and how long he's been at the top of the game with his CV and the trophies he's won. To help the likes of Radu Dragusin. I think Radu could learn an immense amount off someone like Skriniar. Even Romero to a degree and Van De Ven. I think they could learn so much off the guy. I wouldn't be against it. However, I just don't think Tottenham are going to sign him. They've been there. They went out to Milan before and came back with a pair of Pradas from Milan Fashion Week, not Skriniar. Steve Hitchen gave all the excuses why we couldn't get him done. And personally, with players of that sort of name, of that sort of caliber, that hold that weight in the game, I often feel like their agents are using Tottenham to get more out of the club they're actually going to. I've seen, Galatasaray in for him. If I'm hedging my bets, I guarantee you he ends up there. Yeah. And Galatasaray, they're putting together quite a team. I know it's a lot of older players that have been around the block. I don't know where their money's coming from. It's a lot of mismatches, isn't it? Where they sort of pulled them together for a common cause.
Yeah. But it's like it's almost like all the boy bands. Remember, like 5 years ago, 911 got back together.
Bring them all back.
Blue got back on the circuit as well. Yeah. They all got back together for a little while. Get a bit of a tour going, and it feels like Galatasaray are the footballing equivalent. But look, fair play to them, and I don't want to get them in the semi-final of the cup. I don't want to go away to Turkey again. That would be a tough night in Turkey. Although I might get a ticket and go and get this bad boy sorted out. It's looking thin and problematic.
Get perm. I think you should go for something different. I think a nice perm would do that.
Yeah, you reckon?
Yeah, I think so, lad.
It's not looking too bad today.
A few curls on top. I think you're away with it, lad. New man.
I've got a couple more super chats to call out. Kuno's elusive right foot. I've missed this, mate. I've missed this from you. I haven't seen a trio this good since Monday's last word on Spurs. Oh, that was with Ricky and Ben Jacobs, wasn't it? Listen, that was my first crack at the journalism, the asking questions, not giving so many opinions. I still had to squeeze a couple of opinions in there because you know me, I can't help myself.
You threw a few in, didn't you? I think did you not throw in Hanko? Did you not throw in
I threw in David Hanko. Also, the question I was supposed to ask, Ben, was around Ange Postecoglou's, whether he was back sufficiently. But it was like a one-sentence question, but it took me 3.5 minutes to get to the actual question because I wanted to throw in, well, Ange said this, and he's flip-flopped to that, and he said that, and he's over here. And I could see Ricky going, oh, no, Sean's going well off script. But, it's a really, really good show. Kulu's, at least my foot, mate, thank you very much for the ongoing support, my man. Member for 11 months, and I wasn't even around for 6 of them, so I feel bad. But listen, like I say, guys, tomorrow night, all being well, the fan show will be back. I might have to cancel because I've got to go to hospital again. Family stuff. But thank you for your support. And also, the Big D gifted 1 Spurs Talk Show membership. Very generous of you, my man. I'm not sure who saw it, who got it. Whoever it was, if you were the recipient, then first of all, make sure you say thank you to Big D. And second of all, I will see you on tomorrow night if you want to come on and have your say. And also, if not, then I'll make it up on the weekend. I'm gonna play a much better role of being a host and looking after memberships. Taking a leaf out of this guy's book, who does amazing membership content. On that note, guys, there's 750 people in the house. Unbelievable for a Wednesday afternoon. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Get over to the Big Dave upstairs and his channel, The Irish Hotspur. Wonderful. Him and Jack, they are brilliant with their community stuff. And also make sure you get over to Talking Tottenham 1882 and Johnny H3232 on Twitter. Guys, we have one more player that we haven't yet spoken about, or actually one more position, I guess, and that's the striker role. I'd imagine Dominic Solanke's going to squeeze in there tonight, but there is rumours, and Johnny, you can confirm this. Richalison, is he back on the bench? Is he trained? I know they said that he's going to maybe have an extra week.
I was told, when I told you before, the target was Arsenal. So
Arsenal.
Whether or not he comes in early, I wouldn't have thought so. Listen, he's ripped.
So it's more likely to see Will Lancashire on the bench, is it?
Well, listen, look, he's looking ripped, but it's how the hamstrings turn out. All I can tell you is the guy's doing anything and everything to make sure those hamstrings never go again, because he's got a lot to prove to himself, to the fans, to the club,
the Brazilian national team selectors,
to everybody. But let me tell you something: Ange is still a believer. So,
right, okay, great. Right. Johnny, not Johnny, sorry, Dave. Dominic Solanke. What's your stance on him, mate? Like I say, I pivot around the channels, and most of the time I see and hear a hell of a lot of negative comments about Solanke. He's just not a good player. He's not a good fit. Only had 1 good season. Tottenham pissed 65 men up the wall again. And I'm just saying, I don't know what they're watching. I think he's such an absolute contributor to this team, not just in his work rate, his workhorse efforts, but the numbers are up there, right? 26 games, and I think I'm not going to say it wrong, but I think it's something like 19 GA this season. What's your stance, my man?
Do you know what, with Dom Solanke, look, when we saw Larry Kane and brought in Dom Solanke, I was very underwhelmed. I sort of questioned, is his finishing going to be up to par for the level we need it to be at? It's a massive step up from doing it at Bournemouth, where there's not really a lot of pressure compared to where there's pressure every single game. And to a degree, I'm still underwhelmed with some of his finishing. However, I think he's a fantastic asset to the team, and he surprised me a hell of a lot, actually. His work rate out of possession is insane. He does Son's running, he does Johnson's running, and he's just relentless pressing. And the benefit of that actually is you force the opposition to go long, which is not what they want to do. And we turn it over, take the ball back, and we build again. I think that's, I cannot, give him enough credit for his work rate. His hold-up play has been a lot better than what I thought as well, and his all-around play. And I don't think, everything is his fault. I don't think he gets enough service from Son. I don't think he gets any service from Johnson. And he certainly doesn't get enough service coming through the middle with James Maddison occupying the bench all the time. So, I do think if we have better players around him, he gets a lot more service than what he's currently getting. However, I'll go back to the Leicester game. 4 massive opportunities, put 3 points on the board, didn't take it. Newcastle the other day, a couple of headers didn't really generate the power behind it, to try and level up. And I still have my concerns. Is he good enough in the finishing department to deliver week in, week out, sometimes twice a week, like we need at Tottenham Hotspur? To be fair to Dom, I can't really judge that until he gets more service on. So for me, from what I've seen, I've been pleasantly surprised. Do I think there's more 16. To come? I can't really say.
16 GA in 26 appearances across all comps. In the Premier League, 7 goals and 3 assists in 15, I think it is so far.
He's not regular though, is he? I think some of them games he's doubled up in. It's not as regular as Harry Kane was doing it or Son in his pump.
Can I just say?
He scored eight goals, but across 7 in the Premier League, 7 different goal-scoring games. He scored a brace against Villa, and
is it less than Wood? Is it less than Chris Wood with defensive-minded Nottingham Forest?
Let's have a look.
I just like interested.
Chris Wood is on. Sorry, a second, guys. 12 goals this season in 20 in the Premier League. So no, he's
right.
Yeah.
So what I'd like
Chris Wood's having a season of his career, isn't he?
But the thing is, all I hear is defensive-minded Nuno, right? And yet he scored 12 goals for the game. Look, no one can question, like Dave said, his commitment. Okay, his work rate, absolutely fantastic. But I don't believe Ange is using him the right way. Iraola used him playing off the shoulder. The balls came in, and he headed the. Look at the goal that he scored.
Yeah, we don't have players that are crossing the ball.
No. I'm just going to get onto that. Is to look at the ball that came in there by Porro. That ball was whipped in. That was his first goal, scored with his head. Look how many headed goals he scored for Bournemouth last year. Play to a player's strength. I don't want him dropping deep. You're not Harry Kane because you're not going to drop deep and spray a ball 20 yards across the other side of the pitch. Just play to your strength. Just like Dick Emery up at Villa, who told Watkins, stop dropping deep, stop running the line. I want you to work the front, right? I want you to work the front line, which which he did. For me, Gyökeres was the man. Gyökeres was the man. And for £5 or £10 million extra, we could have got him, right? 75 million. He was the game changer for me. This guy certainly isn't. That's my opinion.
Yeah, look, Gyökeres is a class player. Brighton let that one slip away cheap. So did Coventry, so did everyone, to be honest. But I think Gyökeres turned around. Didn't he say he's not going to Tottenham? Like he laughed about the idea of going to Tottenham or something. I feel like that's... who do you think you are? I mean, you're very good, but let's be honest. If you don't want to come, then I'm done with you. We got a few minutes left.
What's your thoughts on tonight, Sean?
I like him. I really, really like him.
Get the crosses in. Then we can.
I think we need to go forward. The problem at Tottenham Hotspur for me is not him; it's our wing forwards.
Correct.
Correct. Cut and shut. We need. Sonny's not anywhere near the player he was. Obviously, Hojbjerg, we don't know, but I was a big fan of Hojbjerg at Burnley. And I think he's got a lot of talent. And I think he will be a good fit. Obviously, the fella Solomon, injured all the time, loaned him out.
Hang on. Hang on. He had one injury. He had a long injury. But what's he got now? 4 goals and 3 assists, or 3 goals?
Obviously, Championship level though. It's obviously different.
But you still got to do it.
I like Manor Solomon. I think unfortunately for me though, you can't have players that participate in political bandwagoning. It's trouble, right? And I think that there's part of that in the background. I'm not getting involved in the actual stance of what he says or has his beliefs on that stuff. That's like too much of a hot potato to get involved in. But I just think that there is an element there that when he's happy to do that stuff, it makes it easy for the club to kind of go. It's difficult, right? Especially if Daniel Levy is having conversations and relationships with people from that part of the world. I'm not getting into it. I don't really want to comment on it too much, but I'm just saying I think that a player shouldn't be doing that stuff, in my opinion. I also think the player shouldn't be getting involved in other political statements for what it's worth. I don't think Black Lives Matter is necessarily a good thing for players to be harking on about. Doesn't mean that the movement's wrong. I think the players should be recognizing that you're talking to a whole world, and you're gonna create fractions and factions rather, and split decisions. Not just Black Lives Matter either. I think the LGBTQ thing is a topic that should I just think all that stuff should be kept off the playing field, in my opinion. With regards to Dominic Solanke specifically, though, I think that the problem is not him. It's our forwards. I think Sonny's on a decline. Hojbjerg, we don't know. Solomon, good player. Like I say, he was injured though, Jonny. And Brennan Johnson's not a workhorse, nor is he a show pony. Decky's not a traditional winger specialist, not a take on guy. For me, I just think we have a lot of sort of good players in that regard, but none of them do what this system requires. And I think the absence of that makes Ange ball look a lot more vulnerable than it is. If you had top players that could just take on their guys that also had the ability to get back. I forgot to mention Timo Werner. He's absolutely useless. If we had 2 players in there that were fit, that were top draw, £50 million rated players that can take on, do their job, get to the byline, cross the ball in, Dominic Solanke would be able to not have to second guess himself. He'd have the time to get to the byline and be on the end of
properly. Then we could judge him properly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I say, I don't think Dominic Solanke is a problem. I think he's a brilliant player. I also think we needed the homegrown numbers. So I think I've got no problem with that transfer. I have massive issues with our wide guys, and that's why I'm so on board. I'll take the risk with Mono Kawani that he's not the player that he once was. I'll take the risk. I'd love to see someone.
He's not a winger though, is he? He's a striker. He always has been.
He's a striker, but he's built like a, like I say, he's a combination for me of like a bit of an Adama Traore. He's got the quick footwork. He's got the pace. He's got all the ability to get to the ball. He's not a striker. Sorry, he's not a winger, but he has played there and he's very adaptable. And Ange loves versatility. I'd also look in other places. I think Rafinha at Barcelona. Still don't know why we haven't gone and have a look at that. That guy is everything that you need. He's a workhorse. People think he's not a workhorse. You go and look at his stats. He gets back. You look at his heat maps. He's more than happy to put in the shift. We need someone that can come in, that can get bums off seats, that can do the A, Bs and Cs of attacking wide players, get to the byline the conventional way, have the ability to cut in, have the ability to go down the outside. Don't let the fullbacks know what your next move's going to be. There's plenty of them out there. There's so many of them out there. Antonio Nusa, absolute superstar. Nusa's absolutely tearing it up where he moved to. Right? What about Skov Olsen? I've been banging that drum for 3 years. Love that kid. He's getting better, not worse. He's not a flash in the pan. There's so many players out there that we could go and get, and for some reason, it's not a priority. And it just drives me up the fucking wall.
What's interesting about a top coach like Hansi Flick, who's taken Rafinha, who was playing out wide, and started playing him through the middle, and completely changed the whole trajectory of the club by playing him through the middle. Sometimes you can change a player's trajectory by moving them into a position. That's what top coaches do. I personally don't see Ange doing that. I think he's only putting them in there through adversity. I don't see square pegs in round holes, any of the square pegs in round holes working.
But he's done that with Kulu, don't know.
Well, Kulu stated the day he arrived when he said, "What's your best position? Where do you see yourself?" And he always said, "I see myself as a number 10." He's always stated that.
No, I know that, but before that, he was primarily a right winger. He's moved into the middle, and he's become, a new player. He hasn't looked back.
At Parma, though, he played in that position.
Fair.
Oh.
It was more
People talk about Marcus Rashford, right? Marcus Rashford coming to Tottenham. I will go mental if that player wears a Tottenham shirt.
Are we going to have to go? We'll have to go and all buy white hoodies and buy some sunglasses and strut around. No way.
I mean, this. If this is Brennan Johnson, this guy won the silver medal, right? Marcus Rashford won the gold medal for doing that exact same thing. The geezer is a waste of space. Talent, don't get me wrong, but he's lazy, his head's gone, too much money. Yeah, it's all too much too soon, and he thinks he's Eminem or whatever these days.
It's the same with Grealish. If you bring either of them here, you're adding to a bad culture that I think Maddison and Johnson are already setting by being at the darts and stuff like that. And I think very quickly that's how your club slides, when you've got too many players here for a good time. Marcus Rashford, when they got slapped up by Man City in the derby, went out and had a public birthday celebration. I'm sorry, if you lose, do it behind closed doors. All professionals used to do it. I don't understand why these modern day guys are exemplary and they're allowed to do what they want. I'm sorry, it doesn't set a good example or a good precedent.
Especially as Maddison was sick, right?
Well, how do we know the illness didn't come in from being at the darts, right? You don't know that. He was one of them, right? Wasn't he? He was one of them. So
100%, mate. Every single time I go to Tottenham, I feel like shit the next day, and it's not because of the Magnums. I'm not going to hear it. It's not the Magnums. It's the fact that I'm around 60,000 people, and you're more likely to catch things when I didn't leave the house during COVID, and I didn't get COVID. The second that I go back to Tottenham, I'm sick every 5 minutes. I agree with you, mate. I think that the darts is going to be a hotbed of bugs.
Look, I love the darts, but you shouldn't be at the darts if you're riding the bench and you're having trouble getting into the first 11 at Tottenham, even with 10 injuries. You shouldn't be at the darts. But just on Kolo Muani as well, just quickly, I just fear you're getting into the same situation you are with Werner and Johnson, where you're bringing in more or less forward players, looking for them to go out wide, and they don't necessarily solve the problem. What we need is a winger that can cross a ball, that can create 5 yards separation from the fullback and get it in. If you want to feed Dom Solanke more regularly and put points on the board, you've got to start getting crosses in. So for me, I think, you've got to look somewhere different.
Yeah. Yep. Quick super chat, boys and girls. Then we've got one more question for you before we round off, if that's okay, guys. Recent reports, says a user, recent reports that Spurs have lined up 2 candidates to take over from Ange should the Carabao Cup games not go to plan. Not sure on signings for January. I haven't heard anything. I haven't even checked the news today, to be honest. I got up and had to take the dog out and then get straight onto this. So I don't know if you guys can shed any light on that. Johnny, do you know anything about this, mate?
Sorry, someone just sent me a message. Beg your pardon for that. What were you saying? Sorry.
Just a user saying recent reports that Spurs have lined up 2 candidates to take over from Ange should the Carabao Cup games not go to plan. Have you heard anything about that?
No, I don't think that's the case. I think that it would be suicidal right now. If he was to sack Ange, if we got beaten, say 5-0 or 4 or 5-0, he'd have to sack them, but then he'd still have to buy the players. And if he brought a manager in, he'd be telling them the players that he'd want. So I'm not so sure. No, I think he will be given...
Not the right time to sack a manager.
No, I think, if we lost this game, we lost against Arsenal and we lost against, say, Everton or Leicester, then I can see the Everton and Leicester games being the crucial ones. But I think if he ended up and managed to beat Arsenal, he's getting a stay of execution to the end of the season.
100%. And then I think the panic stations for me, though, guys, just quickly, Lee Harvey, member for 11 months. Thank you again, man, for the ongoing support, my man. Looking forward to hopefully meeting you on one of the shows this week or next. Great to see this show back with Dave and Johnny. Yeah, 100%, man. And the numbers speak for themselves. 700. There's nearly been 800 people in here for most of the show now. The terrible trio, it works. We love it. It's always a feisty effort. Different opinions flying around. Smash the like button, guys, if you do enjoy it. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. And also make sure you get over to the Irish Hotspur. I'll drop the link in a second. And also talking Tottenham 1882 and Johnny H3232 at Twitter X fame. Guys, 2 questions left for you. One of them is just slipped my mind. I don't know what I was going to say there.
Can't get inside that one.
Sorry. Yeah, no, sorry. This is happened already. My memories are like a sieve these days. The first question is there any kind of merit to this idea? If you're someone that thinks that Ange, maybe isn't the guy, like, the guy before the guy or whatever, Tottenham winning a league cup or Tottenham winning the Carabao, the Europa League, forget about how likely it is. If it happens, then you have to give Ange more time, right? You can't sack the guy if he wins a cup this season, can you? No. And if so, then those people that are desperate to see a trophy but think that Ange is not good enough, out of his depth, there's a lot of people out there that fall into that bucket of saying top four's not a trophy, starved of trophies, Levy out, etc. But also Ange is terrible and he should go, he should be sacked. What is the priority? If you think that Ange winning a cup equals Ange here for the 25-26 season and possibly beyond, then do you think that winning a cup is preferable to getting rid of Ange if you ultimately think that Ange isn't the guy?
Look, I think the only chance that Levy's got really at the moment, looking at it, of European football next season, unless we go on a huge run, is either winning the FA Cup. I don't think the Carabao Cup gets you in Europe anymore. It used to. I don't think it does anymore.
Yeah. Gets you in the Conference League.
Oh, is it conference? Definitely?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, I wasn't sure. For me, winning a trophy gives him a stay of execution. No 2 ways about it. But for me, the one trophy that we all had our eyes on at the beginning of the season was the Europa League. That's the one. Imagine us being in the Champions League next season. We're still in it, no matter what the manager. So if he goes on a terrible run in the league and he gets sacked, whoever comes in is still going to get that opportunity to take us to the Europa League, should we fail in the others. That's our big opportunity. The funny thing,
if he wins the Carabao Cup, he's got the job for next season in your mind, regardless of anything else?
He's definitely got the job until the end of the season. We've seen many times before clubs have won the Carabao Cup and got relegated, Sean.
Yeah, okay, but let's presume we're not going to get relegated.
No, we're not going to get relegated. Yeah. But if he wins the Carabao Cup and ends up in 15th place, no, I think he needs to be removed.
Okay, but you know what will happen then, don't you? everyone then, if we start next season, whoever the next manager is, whether it's Tuchel or Nagelsmann or Iriola, whatever, if we don't have a brilliant barnstorming start next season, the same people that are calling for Ange out will be calling for that person out. Like, the goalposts will be moved.
It's a project,
they'll be blaming Daniel Levy. They'll be saying, how can you sack a manager after winning a cup? And they'll think that everyone's forgotten the fact that the internet doesn't have like a sieve memory like I do, where we could just look back 30 weeks and go, you were calling for this guy to be sacked the entire time, and now that he's gone and the next guy hasn't done any better, that's on Levy, because how dare he sack a guy who's just won a cup? Like, the needle is always pointing somewhere other than north, in my opinion, with some of these opinions. Am I wrong, Dave?
No, look, not wrong at all. Look, I think if Ange Postecoglou wins a trophy, I think he goes into next season 100%. When Ramos was the last one to win the cup in 2008, he went into the following season. I think he was sacked by October, but that's because the club sold Berbatov and Keane that summer, made his job really difficult. Harry Redknapp came in, I think, brought Robbie Keane back in the January, and it helped us out. So if we're going off that logic, I think, yeah, of course he stays next season. It's just he's going to have to get off to a very good start next season in the league.
Yeah.
No, listen, I'm not sacking him. If he wins a trophy, he's going to stay. All I'm saying is, if he wins the Carabao Cup, right, in March, like winning 2 games, and we don't do, and we just keep getting worse and worse and worse in the league, there will be questions. I'm not saying,
of course, that's natural.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Even if he wins a trophy, there's still going to be a large element that think he's clueless and still want him out anyway.
Of course.
People
love to bathe in that misery bath of milk. They like get in there and just like wash it over me. I just love to be unhappy about everything.
Look, if he beats Liverpool, if we beat Manchester City, Manchester United, and Liverpool, and Newcastle or Arsenal in that final, we 100%, for the first time ever, Spurs deserve 100%. No one could look at us and say, what an easy run, like Arsenal did.
Oh, it's the most difficult.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone will have ever won a cup with a more difficult run, if I'm entirely honest. That would just be absolutely insane. Again, go back to the cup variants. You can get lucky, or you can get incredibly unlucky. And if Tottenham find a way to figure it out tonight, and that's where we're going to finish this last segment of the show, guys, is obviously, what do you expect to happen? What's your score prediction? And what would you take? Not necessarily your prediction, but what would you also accept? What would you take as to go into the next round in a few weeks' time? Hopefully, have a couple of players back, couple of players back, and hope that we're still in the hat, still in the tie. Well, what's your sort of thoughts about tonight? I'll start with you, Johnny. Go on.
I'm going to go for a 3-2 loss tonight, but come February, we're going to have Richalison back. We're going to have Maddison back. We're going to have Romero back. We're going to have Micky Van De Ven back. I want to be 1 goal out going into the game against Anfield, when this is going to be our all or nothing. We won't be, in the Champions League. We won't be. This will be it. I'm going to go for the 3-2 defeat, but Spurs to be still in the tie going into that game in February with a much, much stronger team.
Dave?
Look, I think...
Don't change your mind now, mate. I heard you backstage.
I know. Look, I think we have to win today. If we don't win, I think going to Anfield it's going to be a huge test, right? But look, I just have a sneaky feeling Tottenham will surprise a lot of people tonight. It's just like us to beat Liverpool and then go and lose at Anfield. Probably win 3-0 tonight and lose 4-0 at Anfield. Look, I don't believe in my score predictions, but I do genuinely believe the part of being a fan is, especially a fan of your club, is come kickoff, you sort of try and find factors on where you can try and win the game. That's just part of being a fan. So look, I'm going to go 2-1 Tottenham tonight. Do I believe it? No. But it's the magic of the cup, and I do believe in that.
You said backstage you thought we were going to win, Dave. You can't... What are you saying?
No, I said I have a sneaky feeling that we're going to do something today. I have a feeling that we're going to turn up. Yeah, I do have a feeling. But it does. We are hoping that Liverpool have an uncharacteristically bad game within that analysis as well. Look, like I said, I wouldn't put it by Tottenham to win today and then go and lose at Anfield. I really wouldn't. Tottenham are like that. They will give you hope. They'll give you belief. And just when you think you're there, they'll absolutely sweep the rug from underneath your feet. And just quickly, I want to say, Dr. Balkovich out there. Look, there's no need for that, man. Dr. Bulovic or whatever you call him. There's no need for that, man. Come on. That's too far, lad.
Who's that?
Look at the comment further up.
What is that? If you misbehave again, Sean, you will wish you hadn't.
Do you feel embarrassed about your tossy behaviour on Savage Show recently? No, not at all, mate, because I'm just standing up for myself against a guy who likes to give it out the same as other people do. If you can't give it out, if you can't take it, then don't give it out. I stand up for myself. Look, he turned the stream private. I was happy for him to leave it public. But honestly, mate, if you're going to sit there and say, if you misbehave against Sean, you wish you hadn't, you're exactly what is wrong with type of people in the fan base, right? You're not my type of person.
We don't need you in this stream.
I don't want to be friends with you either. I'm not intimidated by you. And I don't know what you're doing in my stream. Just fuck off down somewhere. Fuck off down the Emirates or wherever you want to be with your stupid fucking shit show. I'll tell you what I'll do. I will politely tell you to fuck off and ban you from the stream. See you later. Anyway, so as you were saying, 2-1, Dave, yeah?
2-1 Tottenham. Look, it could be 3-1 Tottenham, or it could be.
You didn't even say that with a straight face, Dave.
No, like I said, Johnny.
2-1.
No, look, like I said, Johnny, I don't believe in my own score predictions because I'm biased, right? I'm delusional towards Tottenham Hotspur, so I'm always going to try and plot a way where I can see we can win the game. So don't anyone run down to the bookies and put a fiver on it. Don't do that. You're going to lose your money.
Well, maybe not. Listen, I've got a feeling that we're going to win tonight. I think we're going to win. I think we're going to go there. I'm with you, Dave, 100%. We'll set ourselves up for an interesting couple of weeks where we all get excited, and then ultimately at Anfield, the chickens come home to roost. But listen, that's what Tottenham is all about. That's what the fun side of being a fan is. And for me, I think that I'm going to go with a 3-1 victory to Tottenham. And it's going to be an interesting one. But I think that the gods are going to sort of shine on us. We've had a hell of a lot of bad luck. We've had a hell of a lot of things go our way. And I just think that tonight the gods are going to go on then, Tottenham fans. Have a little bit to hang your hat on going into the February. And we'll go from there. Let me say, guys, one last time. Massive thank you. There's 800 people in the house. It's unbelievable numbers. Love you all. Apart from Dr. Bulovic, who typical armchair warrior, doesn't put his face out, doesn't put his name out, just wants to come into comment sections and acts like a complete donut. And that is why there's people out there that just sort of disappoint you, don't they? They're just like toxic people that want to spend their time throwing misery and hate towards others.
None of us on streams are boxers, fighters. We're not looking for it. We're just here to share an opinion, No one wants arguments and shit like that. Just cut it out, man. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's a football club with millions of fans. If everyone's seen the same things the same way and seen life through the same way, life would be boring. It'd be monotonous.
100%.
You know what I mean? The fact that everyone has difference of opinions. And at the end, it's only YouTube. What we're saying here isn't gospel. It's just an opinion.
That's why
talk and everything else. Just be gone with it. There's no need for it.
That's why this is called the Devil's Advocate. If you understand the concept of this show, is that we're not here to be an echo chamber. The three of us singing the same tune, dancing to the same dance. We're here to question each other, challenge each other, and question each other.
100%.
Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. That's it.
Exactly. And that's it. The only people that look like bozos are people that go and fight other people's battles for them behind the anonymity of a nonsense name. Anyway, enjoy your block, enjoy your ban. The rest of you guys, smash the like button, smash the subscribe. Let me get the links for Dave one last time. There we go. Make sure you get over there and subscribe to the wonderful Dave. And also, let me get the right name here. Talking Tottenham 1882. Get over there to Jonny on Instagram. Where are we? There's Dave. There's Jonny. Guys, we'll see you at the stadium tonight. Jonny, what time are you going to be there?
Probably around about 6. I'm in premium tonight, so hopefully I can meet you before.
All right. Well, if I leave in about half an hour, I might be there at about 4 o'clock, or if I leave in about an hour, I might not be there at all.
Let me tell you, it'll take me about an hour and a quarter tonight, at least hour and 20 minutes because of the traffic. Rush hour, mate. Rush hour.
Yeah, horrendous stuff. The Devil's Advocate back, ladies and gentlemen. We love you. Smash the like, subscribe, and everything else. See you on the next one. And as always, come on,
you
Spurs. Wonderful. God, what a fucking